Good afternoon. Today I would like to tell you about 4-H poultry judging and one of the #1 things we judge, the white leghorn hen. The white leghorn hen is very good at one specific thing, producing eggs. To better understand how many eggs the white leghorn hen produces and how we calculate that number of eggs, I'm going to talk about the parts of the white leghorn hen and then how she produces those eggs. So one of the most prominent features of the white leghorn hen is her comb. It's a small fleshy structure on the top of her head. Under the comb is her beak. Behind her beak and under the eye is the earlobe. Under it is a small ear canal that can be very hard to see. Down below the ear and the beak are these small red fleshy things that are hanging down. They're called the wattles. On the other end of the bird, we've got the hocks, which are covered in feathers, and the shanks, which are not. So you might be wondering, how can we calculate how many eggs a white leghorn hen has laid? So to understand that, we've got to go back to what happens when the egg is made. During the production of an egg, the yellow color in the yolk put in, and that is called xanthophyll. In poultry judging, we also commonly refer to this as pigment. This pigment occurs naturally in several areas of the hen's body. As she lays the eggs, this pigment is bleached out of the body parts in a specific order. Based on which body parts have been bleached, we can determine how many eggs have been laid. In order, the hen first begins to bleach from her vent. When her vent is bleached through, she has laid somewhere between 0 to 10 eggs. Next up is a small area around her eye called the eye ring. When that is bleached, she has laid somewhere between 8 to 12 eggs. Next up is her earlobe, which actually does have small amounts of xanthophyll in it. When it is completely bleached, she has laid between 10 and 15 eggs. When the beak has been bleached through, she has laid up to 35 eggs. Next up are the bottoms of her feet, at which point she has laid 68 eggs. After that, her shank is bleached out, indicating that she has laid somewhere around 159 eggs. Finally, the top of the toes and the hocks are bleached, indicating that she has laid the maximum number of eggs, somewhere between 175 and 180. You'd be wondering, when the top of toes and hocks are bleached out, what happens after that? The hen goes into something called molt. When in molt, a hen stops producing eggs and begins to replace the pigment in the same order that it was bleached out of her body. Another symptom of molt is the loss of what are called primary feathers. The primary feathers are the first 10 feathers on the outside of a leghorn's wing. These feathers are divided from the secondary feathers by the axial feather, a short feather in the middle. I can tell this hen has been molting because the first 3 feathers in the wing have fallen out and have been replaced by newer, shorter feathers. However, she has not completed her molt because the last 7 feathers have not been replaced yet.